So it's my honor and pleasure to be with you this afternoon. I am here in Paris at the headquarters of the French Bischofskonferenz, together with my deputy, Pierre-Yves, and we will give you a briefing on the church financing in France, and obviously we will let some time for a question and answer session. Let me share or try to share a presentation on a slideshow on this topic, and this will allow us to go through, hopefully, the key topics that are at stake when we talk about the financing of the Catholic Church in France. I will first give you an overview of what are we talking about when we're talking about the Catholic Church in France nowadays in 2024. Then I will go straightforwardly to a description of what are our financing resources. What are our 5 main sources of funding? Then we will turn to the key challenges that we are facing at present, and it will be time for your questions and hopefully some answers to these questions. So let's first take a quick view of what is the Catholic Church in France. Catholicism in France is something like 15 centuries old. We are a Catholic country, but obviously secularization has been underway for more than a century, and the situation nowadays is the following. Half of the population, roughly, consider itself as or describe itself as being Catholic. These 50% were 90% in the 50s and even in the early 60s. Out of those 50%, we have 3/4 of what we could describe as cultural Catholics. Those are people that say, I am Catholic, but I'm never going to church. I don't attend Mass. And we've got, therefore, some 28% of churchgoers, but the bulk of them is only going to church 3-4 times a year. The regular churchgoer are somehow between 2 and 6%. And as it has already been mentioned, we are living under a specific status, which is laïcité. In 1905, the law passed by Parliament introduced a strict separation between state and church. And this has 2 key consequences. There is no longer any established church, and the state do not recognize any church. And therefore, there is no longer any kind of public financing. Any type of public financing is outlawed. So no Kirchensteuer, no autopermile. We have to live on our own. To give you another, to describe the situation from another angle, we have 100 dioceses. This is the legacy of history, and especially of the fact that in 1804, Napoleon reinstated the Catholic Church, but made a deal with the Pope. He had just created what we call the département, 100 départements, districts, and he wanted a bishop in each of those districts. So this is why we have 100 dioceses, ranging from 50,000 inhabitants to a diocese that is more than 3 million inhabitants. So there are huge differences between urban dioceses and rural dioceses. If we now turn to the church itself, we've got 200 bishops, which means that we have roughly 110 bishops, including auxiliary bishops, due to the high number of dioceses, plus 80 retired bishops, 12,000 priests, out of which nearly 2,000 are coming from Africa or Asia as fidei donum priests, 3,000 deacons, and in the dioceses and in the parishes, some 8,000 staff members, a lot of them being part-time, which in fact leads us to a number of roughly 5,000 full-time staff members, equivalent full-time staff members. We've got 100 dioceses that are united in 15 provinces and around 10,000 parishes. I describe the Catholicism in France in a nutshell. You've got 50% of the population which describes itself as Catholic, 3/4 of which are cultural Catholic. You see that on the graph, and 1/4 being churchgoers. And I already mentioned the two consequences of the 1905 laïcité law: no established church, no public financing. Okay, now do you have the map of France on your screen?
100%. It's fine. Yes, it's fine.
Okay, it's fine. Okay, so you see the map of France divided in 100 dioceses.
Yeah.
And I made a reference to Bonaparte, Napoleon, who reinstated in 1804 the Catholic Church, as you see on the map, one diocese per district. I then turned to describe the Catholic Church itself, with its bishops, priests, deacons, and staff members, and the number of parishes, 10,000. And I think I was there mentioning two other consequences of the laïcité law. The first one was to forbid to the Catholic Church in itself to practice within the Catholic Church civil structure, education, and charity. So this is why we had to set up specific independent entities for Catholic charities and for Catholic schools. Those Catholic charities and Catholic schools are independent entities, and they are funded separately. So all what I'm going to talk from now onwards will relate only on the Catholic Church itself. It will not encompass the Catholic charities, nor will it encompass the Catholic schools. Same thing for congregations and religious communities, with their somehow 20,000 members. Those are separate entities, and they are funded separately. So I'm going really to give you a view on the church itself, meaning the parishes and the dioceses. Now, if I turn now, and I hope you see the key financial metrics. Do you see the key financial metrics on your screen?
We do.
Okay. What are the key financial metrics? And you will certainly be a bit surprised by the fact that we're not talking here big numbers. Our operating revenues, 754 million euros. In front of those operating revenues, we've got expenses, one third for the remuneration of clergy and staff, 1/3 for all expenses linked to our buildings, churches, parish buildings, and others, and 1/3 for pastoral activities. Those operating expenses amount to 890 million euros. So, given the fact that you've got 100 dioceses, this gives you a very quick and clear and valid idea of the size in financial terms of a given diocese. A diocese in France, 7 million revenues, 9 million expenses, which means that there is a shortfall, 135 million euros. And due to the fact that we do not have any significant financial assets, our financial income is really quite limited. And we turn a positive financial result only because we receive a significant amount of bequests, 135 million. So the key financial metrics are those: an operating shortfall met by a significant amount of bequests. And 1/3 is breaking even, and 1/3 turns a positive net result. Now, the operating results, the operating revenues being 754 million euros, offerings and gifts amount to 551 million euros, whereas bequests and donations amount to, we've seen that just before, 100. Funded by the churchgoers and the faithful at large. Now, if I turn now to the 5 main financing resources, what are they? What are they? Well, there are first the annual appeal that is launched every year and throughout the year to fund the church. And this brings us 40% of the 700 million euros I already mentioned. The bequests and donations are bringing an additional 20%. So 60% of our financing resources are for general purpose. And we've got 3 other sources of funding which are all three linked to liturgy. The Sunday collections, 22%. The offerings for masses, 51 million, 7%. And when there are baptism, marriages, or funerals, there are offerings, and those offerings, which are called casuel in our language, brings an additional 11%. So overall, 60% of our resources are for general purpose, and 40% are literally are linked to liturgy. There is a tax exemption for the annual appeal, but this is the only support we receive, and bequests to churches are not taxed, and that's obviously an incentive to give to the church. If we look to the trends, here are the trends. The blue line are the resources linked to liturgy, and you see that in 2020 we suffered a blow linked to the COVID epidemic, and because masses were cancelled and everyone was at home, but we had a rebound in 2021. So whereas the red line is the annual appeal, the denier, and as you see, it's more or less stable, and in fact, the upstick in 2022 is just an accounting upstick. You should consider the dotted line, so it's roughly stable. To support the annual appeal, we are making some marketing, and this marketing is, as you see here, directly linked to the belonging behavior, and also to this is the last national campaign we launched to the link to sainthood, with figures of churchgoers parallel to figures of saints. All of you are those who make church alive. Give to the denier. Give. This is the annual appeal. Another example here for when the people are writing down their wills and to collect bequests, the call to action is life for eternity. I turn my will to the Catholic Church. This is a description of our funding. What are the key challenges ahead? First of all, the decline of the number of donors. Then, second challenge, the technological change and turnaround. Third, what I will call the spiritual and pastoral dimension of the fundraising effort. And fourth, the necessity, the fact that it's compulsory for us to reduce our expenses. So to give you a first idea of the first challenge, you see that we are suffering from a regular and quite significant decrease in the number of donors to our annual appeal. We lost nearly 30%, 25, 30% of our donors in the last decade. This being mitigated by a sharp rise in the average gift from 200 euros to nearly 370 euros. So the Catholic that are giving and answering to our annual appeal are more and more generous, but we've got fewer and fewer contributors. The second challenge is, and we also have a challenge linked to the decline in church attendance. And this decline in church attendance, not only for Sunday masses, but also for funerals, baptism, marriages, obviously translate into fewer people participating in this collection of offerings linked to liturgy. But this is also mitigated by an increase quite significant in the average collection. Well, nevertheless, the decline of the number of donors is a major challenge. The second major challenge is the technological shift. Still at present, the annual appeal is mostly collected through mailings, and in reply, people are sending checks. In France, people write down checks, and they do not make banking transfers, and this is going to dramatically decrease and disappear. Same thing for Sunday collections. The young generation do not carry anymore any cash. So when you don't have any cash, you can participate to the Sunday collection. So we have to shift from the old economy to the new technologies. And for instance, in parishes, either you have connected collection plates, or you don't connect anymore. So all dioceses and all our 10,000 parishes have to adapt and invest, and we are far from being there. A few snapshots to illustrate that. This is an example on the right of two different type of connected plate, and this is also a screen in a church whereby you can pay for your annual appeal, your denier. Third challenge, the pastoral and spiritual challenge. Fundraising for the church is first a pastoral obligation, and it's a spiritual opportunity. I have reproduced here the Canon Law 222. The Christian faithful are obliged to assist with the needs of the church, and half of regular churchgoers do not contribute to the annual appeal. We have some kind of 1.5 million regular churchgoers, and only 800,000 are contributing to the annual appeal. If we broaden the spectrum, if we try to engage with people that say that they are Catholics, but they feel a kind of linked to the Catholic Church, but then they are not regular churchgoers, to reach out to those cultural Catholics, digital is of the essence. If we don't use digital tools, we will not reach them. We will lose them. and the involvement of parish priests and pastoral agents in fundraising is patchy. We are using marketing techniques. We are using the medias. We are using mailings, emailings, screens, our websites, but it doesn't make for in terms of efficiency, it doesn't make for the involvement in parishes of the people that are there and that can spread the good word. And an element which is in that respect really a major agent of change is to fully deploy efficient CRM tools in all parishes. And this has to be seen not as a constraint, but as an opportunity in pastoral terms. A lot of people are visiting or are asking the local churches for support for funerals, just to visit the church, and we need to deploy CRM tools to get track of the link we have had with them at these occasions. So there is a pastoral challenge. Fundraising is a pastoral opportunity to strengthen the link with the church, but it's also for those who are giving. It's also a spiritual opportunity, because prayer and gift go together as one. And if we split the two, doesn't work. It works. It goes hands in hands. And on top of that, each type of gift has its own spiritual meaning. To give to the Sunday collection is to participate to the Eucharist, whereas to give to the annual appeal is to build the church, whereas to give through one's will is something also different. So we've got to. There's an opportunity to live up to what means to give, and to give in that direction. When you offer a mass and when you ask for a mass to be applied to a specific intention for somebody who is deceased or for someone who is living, to be thankful or to be asking, this has a very strong spiritual meaning, and to give more broadly expresses and strengthens faith. So bundled together, all those key challenges are currently more or less met if we see the revenues which are resilient. As I described before, the annual appeal is more or less stable. The liturgy linked offerings is a bit on the rise, and the bequests are a strong and a stronger contributor.